Today we are going to learn how to change the base of a logarithm, and what this will allow us to do is use a calculator to calculate any logarithm of any type. If you think back, if I gave you the log base 2 of 8, we could calculate that manually and think, all right, 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8, and that would make the logarithm equal to 3. But if we were to try to do that with a calculator, we'd notice that that log button doesn't allow us to input the base, and so we wouldn't be able to actually calculate that with the log button. Well, what this change of base formula does is it allows us to um, use the calculator to calculate logarithms by rewriting them as a fraction with a new base, that's base b. So make sure that we have this formula written down on our sheet. And I recommend having these arrows as well, because it does kind of highlight where our different variables and locations should go. So we are going to see the usefulness of this equation by kind of verifying the formula. We're going to do this first problem, log base 4 of 64, two different ways. First way we're going to do it is we're going to manually calculate it, and then we're going to use that formula, which I've included down here again for reference, to verify that it works. So log base 4 of 64. If we're solving this, I always like to rewrite as exponential. So we go log base, so the base is 4, so we're going to go 4 to the x power, that's our unknown, equals 64. And we're trying to figure out what x is. So x is equal to question mark here. And if we go 4 times 4, that gets us 16. If we do times another 4, that'll get us to 64. So x is equal to 3 here, which means that our answer is 3. So log base 64 is equal to 3. Now, if we want to do this with our change of base formula, all right, we're given log base 4 of 64. Let's rewrite that with the formula that we got here. All right, so we're going to have a fraction sign. We're going to have a log up top. Let's do this one in yellow because that matches our formula here. And that's going to use the argument, this bigger number here. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a base of 10 because we can dictate whatever base we want. If we use the base of 10, we can use our calculator. So we go log base 10 of 64. And on bottom here, I'll use purple. That's going to be where we calculate the log of our base. We'll have log base 10 of 4. Now, if we punch that whole thing into our calculator and make sure you're using your parentheses so we get this correctly, we'll have log of 64 on top divided by the log of 4 on the bottom, because that fraction tells us to divide, and you'll use your calculator. So our calculator will get us to 3. And that's going to be our answer there. So our answer to that change of base formula is 3. All right, same thing can be done with this longer problem, log base 2 of 512. If I go through and manually calculate this, we're trying to see, all right, how many times does 2 multiply by itself? 2 times 2 gives us 4, another 2 gives us 8, another 2 gives us 16, another 2 gives us 32, 64, 128, 256, and finally 512. Like, it's a long process. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 2's multiplied together. So our log base 2 of 512 is 9. But like we saw in that previous example, we can also knock this out with that change of base formula. And honestly, it's probably quicker in this scenario, log base 2 of 512. We can rewrite as base 10s, and this time I'm not even going to write the base because we know when the base isn't there, it's base 10. The argument goes up top, so we'll have log base 10 of 512, and that base goes on the bottom, log of 2, and that's a base 10. We can plug that into our calculator and get log of 512, use that parentheses, divided by log of 2, parentheses, and we'll get 9. So again, the value here is by using a base of 10. Base 10 is the big thing we want to use here because we can use our calculator when that happens. So we can start applying this to logarithms of any type. Before we dive into example 1 here, you'll notice that this is a logarithm we can't manually calculate, or it would take a lot of guess and check work to do so. If we went and did this log base 2 and repeated it, we'd have 2 times another 2 would get us 4. But if we did 2 times 2 times 2, that brings us up to 8. So we can't really calculate what that is manually. But if we use our change of base formula, which we can rewrite here, we'll have log of 5 up top